Hi, my name is Jennifer McCormack, Kinesiologist. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge series. I have put together these series of interviews for you in the time of COVID-19, where we are not only going through a health pandemic, but also an economic one as well. It is so important during these times not only to look after our business financially, but first and foremost, our mindset, so we can make better decisions in our business for the health of our business and for the health of our families. So I bring to you a series of entrepreneurs and how they deal with their mindset and their strategies to help the health of their business moving forward in such uncertain times. So today I'm here with Angela Koning, and we are going to discuss today how mental health in our business and how the way we think is so imperative at this time. So before we start, Ange, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today.
You're welcome, Jen. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So first, I'd like you to tell our audience exactly what you do, because you say it so eloquently and I absolutely love it when I hear it. So please tell us.
Well, my business name is Equenti Leadership and Learning. I'm a leadership coach and trainer and facilitator, and I work in the corporate world doing that. And I also have an equine assisted executive retreat program that I run at a winery here in Brisbane called Hooked on Leadership.
Beautiful. So what's your main objective with your retreat programs?
With the retreat programs, it's often team building for intact leadership or executive teams, either at the executive or senior leadership level. And really, we're teaching them self-awareness, self-leadership, behavioural flexibility, and introducing the horses into that mix. Well, it does a number of things. It certainly creates a little bit of uncertainty, so all of our default behaviours can play out when we're uncertain. And it also creates some fun and connection as well.
Beautiful. I really love that, how you brought the horses into the whole mix. Because I mean, I've seen throughout the years how horses can such beautiful therapy on so many different levels. And I suppose the place where I've seen it a lot is on disabilities.
Yes.
But bringing it into the it's quite interesting that you work a lot on mindset, behavioural, and the way we think and feel, and how that's impacted not just on the business results, but as the connection and the communication within an organisation.
Yes.
Tell me, why do you consider mindset and our beliefs and our emotional state so important when doing business?
Look, everything I coach around with my leaders that I work with is all about how to show up constructive and functional in our leadership state. Because when we do that, we can be serving, we can be certain, we make better decisions, we connect better with our people, and business results flow from there. And so the discussion often becomes then, well, how am I supporting my mindset? How am I supporting my emotional health? How am I supporting my physical health? How am I staying mentally engaged in my discipline? And when you combine all of those things, you've got a much better opportunity to choose a constructive and functional leadership state.
So really, it's a lot to do with how we are showing up as a person to how we execute what we need to execute.
Yeah, it's kind of, I like to say, if you lead yourself well, everything else falls into place. That's my business tagline. And so, yeah. So it's all starts with, how am I leading myself? How am I showing up? And what's contributing to my ability to choose a constructive leadership state? And I guess this is where the overlap in our businesses occurs, because there's so much that goes on within the hearts and minds of humans that can affect how well we're able to choose that constructive state.
So when we look at, say, the business in total, and we know that we need strategy, we know we need that action and execution, how important do you see that compared to the mindset that we take to execute with?
Well, really, they go hand in hand. It's no point having a great strategy and a great plan for execution if you don't have the mindset, the mojo, the energy, the clarity, the enthusiasm to and engage your team in executing that strategy. And you might also argue that unless you have all of those things, it's hard to come up with a good strategy in the first place.
Yes, and I guess this is why it's so important in the economic structure that we are facing right now, and to come up with a good, like, I think I've heard 10 million times the word pivot in the last couple of weeks. It's how do I pivot my business successfully right now to keep my business alive? We can't do that from a place of fear or that uncertainty. We need to come back into some sort of balance. And I suppose in what you say, the leadership within us needs to show up for then to come up with those strategies.
Yeah, the way I think about that is, if I'm going to make a difference to the way that the world is responding to the crisis that we're facing right now, I want us to see the opportunities in that situation. I want us to learn to live and work differently, to always be moving forward and setting gold standards for ourselves and our teams in terms of what's possible right now, instead of living and working from a place of fear and panic and restriction and anxiety. And for us to be able to do that, we need to have our mindset in the right place. And like right now, in the midst of crisis, that can be a full-time job. And certainly the clients I've been working with this week, they're saying things like, I'm worried, I'm anxious, I'm concerned, I'm scattered, I'm not as productive as I want to be. And so this week we've been helping them with their mindset and focusing on the most important things, giving them their power back, and having them feel like they're in control and have certainty around something. Now, for me to be able to do that, I need to access that state of certainty and service within myself.
Do you think in a time like this, our mindset could make or break our business?
Definitely. I think our mindset is more important than the external conditions in which we're operating. And by external conditions, I mean external to us. So whenever I sit with a client for the first time, I hear the same story almost, 98% of the time. It's that the conditions in which I'm operating aren't ideal. This leads them to come to me for leadership coaching. They're not ideal, and it's hard to work with my team to get the results that I'd like to get. And because the conditions aren't ideal, the results are hard to get, that's affecting my leadership state. I'm not showing up for my team or my business in the way that I normally would like to. And by the way, if that goes on long enough, I start to feel really uncertain within myself. I start to doubt myself, start to doubt if business and leadership is for me, whether I'm in the right place, whether I've got what it takes to do this. And so what we try to do in leadership coaching is turn that story inside out. We're looking for that internal locus of control, which says, when I'm taking care of me, when I'm rock solid at my core, so I'm mentally engaged in my work, I'm listening, watching, attending, I'm staying current, I'm staying contemporary. When I'm physically fit and well and healthy, when I'm emotionally well, and when I'm spiritually alive and connected, that is when I'm able to choose those functional and constructive leadership states, which lead to better results and over time can influence the condition in which I'm operating. So if our business is in trouble right now, there's no point trying to tweak the external conditions that we're operating in. All of the tweaking, all of the refinement and the fine tuning needs to be done internally with our mindset, so we can show up in this challenge as constructive.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you say that, because I think we spoke about this before we came online, which is, even with the business owners that I've worked with over the last couple of weeks, I've seen some businesses absolutely thrive right now. Absolutely thrive. and then I've seen some heartbreakingly fold.
Yes.
And some of these external conditions are not helping, but being in the mindset, okay, you might not thrive right now, you might not have the ability to thrive, but you might have the ability to survive.
Yes, yes. And I think, look, finding the opportunities, the way I'm personally tackling this at the moment is through a daily practice of appreciation, and I'm posting that online at the moment. You know, our conversation with that kinesiology approach has been very helpful. And there's a range of other levers and strategies and tools that I draw on.
Can you share a couple of them with us?
I've got lots, yeah. So,
well, what do you do what have you been doing, say, in the last week to help you stay on point?
So I've been taking my dog outside. I've been connecting with my horses. So anything that implies more normality. So for me to go for a drive out and connect with my horses yesterday was a great thing. So that touch connection, even if it's not with another person because I live alone, but with my animals, that's been huge. Definitely getting outside, even with the restrictions that we have right now, feeling the sun on my skin, feeling the breeze, feeling the temperature, feeling the grass under my feet, and connecting with the senses. Listening to things that motivate and inspire me. So I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks, as we've discussed. That's one of the things that I'm listening to. It's accessing senses through things like essential oils. So I've got that here. I've got crystals on my desk here.
That's really all your go-tos, which you may go to sometimes throughout, you know, the days and the weeks. Like, let's just pull them all together now.
Yeah, let's fearlessly access all of the support that I've got, and reaching out more to friends and family. And then the other thing that's really helped me is this resource I put out yesterday around what are the most important things right now? How do we create clarity in a crisis? And so I've encouraged, I took this exercise myself and made it into a tool for my clients to identify the 5 most important things right now, in the midst of just the chaos and the information overwhelm and the emotional experience of what we're going through, to distill those 5 most important things and set standards for myself and actions that I'll do daily to live into the way I want to show up in this crisis. It's been a really important tool for me this week, because I sat at my desk here Monday and I thought, this is not business as usual.
No, it's not.
This requires something different, and I was just overwhelmed with concern and worry and anxiety about the environment we're operating in, and we needed to cut through that. So that tool's been really helpful. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll get you to share a link to that tool later on, but what I wanted to touch on, which you mentioned, is connection. How important do you feel connection is right now?
Well, connection's always important for me, and like as a single person living alone, I've got my animals, right? But connection with other people, with family, through video, like what we're doing now, is critical, and not just to nourish us, but to give back and support them. And as we were discussing before we came online, the ability to hold space for others and expect nothing in return is a rare skill, it seems. I hate to call it rare, but it seems that way. And so to the extent that I'm able to offer that, I do, and I absolutely love it when I'm connecting with people who understand the value of holding space for others as well. That's a beautiful thing.
And I guess that's when we spoke about before, having mentors as well can be quite valuable in that area, because we're not emotionally invested, I guess you could say, in making sure you get the right outcome that we can see is right, but making sure you get the outcome that you feel is right. Yeah. Sometimes I know when we lean on family and friends, especially in this time, they're going through their own stuff. So it's like when I need someone to vent to, who do I go to? And I know, you know, even a couple of my clients have said the same thing. I need to talk to you because, you know, there's no judgment. You hold the space. You allow me just to vent and be me and to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Which I
And
think is super important.
what we offer as practitioners in this way is what family and friends can't necessarily offer, because they're so invested in their expectations of what's right for us, and sure, they want the best for us, but as practitioners, we understand that the answers are always already within our clients, and they just need to be accessed and developed and drawn out of the client. And so
I think especially
imposing things on them, or imposing ideas on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, on that same boat, there is, especially in a time like this, how do we learn to trust ourselves and our instincts, you know, like we used to when we've got so much noise externally?
Yes, that's a great question. Look, for me, that's been about consuming less news than you might be tempted to. Certainly when the Prime Minister makes an announcement that adjusts the way we operate as a society, that's worth tuning into and understanding the impacts. But the rest of it, the constant news updates, the Facebook, the Instagram, even LinkedIn that's going on around this, there's a healthy amount of information to consume, and that is an awareness of what we need to be careful about right now and the impacts on us and our family, such that we can learn to navigate that changed environment. The rest of it is people expressing fear and anxiety, looking for community around fear and anxiety, and that's the train I choose to get on.
Yeah, and that's fair, and that's really important around this time where it's such a global issue, is that we're all going to have our own personal opinions on things, and my personal opinion may not resonate with you or the next person. So I think that's really important to, you know, as a person, to understand that it's okay she's not on my bandwagon.
Yeah.
Because as long as it works for me, and I think this is where we need to be honest, does my opinion and my belief and the energy that I'm holding right here and now, is it working for me? Or is it just like putting me further down the rabbit hole?
Yes. And I think I've got quite finely tuned senses through my life experience. I know when I'm spiraling down the rabbit hole in my thinking. I can feel it immediately in my body. And, you know, I have little strategies to stop that. One is to become aware of it. 2 is to get outside. 3 is to take a nap. Like, I take lots of naps because energetically I want to disconnect from that line of thinking.
Absolutely.
Doing something physical with your body. And sometimes it is about also allowing space for and acknowledging the fear or the discomfort that we're feeling, so that we don't develop unresourceful strategies that become distractions from what we need to feel. Yeah.
I remember a couple of weeks ago, you know, my husband lost a lot of work in, you know, overnight. And I think I cried off and on for 2 days. I'm like, what am I going to do? But it was so important. I felt that just to feel into that feeling before doing anything, just to feel it, be aware of it, acknowledge it, let it go, and then do what I needed to do. Because as I said, when we're working from a place of fear, no strategy is going to be the right strategy.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a little bit in my clients at the moment, where they have an expectation placed upon themselves of being instantly productive now that they're working from home or working remotely in some way. And they're throwing themselves into work, long work days, in an effort to be productive. And really, I believe what they're trying to avoid is the uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty. And I think some of those unresourceful strategies that can become habits, like overworking, can be avoided if we allow ourselves that time and space to feel and trust ourselves to feel what needs to be felt. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's quite interesting because as you say that, because what comes to my mind, I'm like, oh, this overworking strategy, despite what we're going through right now, is such a big solution that people use to suppress a lot of their internal emotions. Well, it's what I call another drug, is our work. So it's quite interesting to be aware of that now, that's our go-to strategy. And it's like, oh, what am I really trying to hide here? What am I really trying to cover up? And what I'm finding with a lot of people right now, and you probably find this as well, is some of them have a lot of time on their hands, and they're noticing these inner shadows, inner emotions start to rise, and it's like, I don't have the work to suppress it. What do I do with it? And this is a perfect time to like, hey, let's do some inner work here. Yeah. Release all that stuff and imagine the kind of person that you can be on the other side.
Yeah, I think this idea, you and I find this conversation quite natural. But there are many people out there who are experiencing these emotions for the first time, and they haven't entertained yet the personal development journey that I know that we've both been on in different ways. And so they're looking for support. Basically, often I think they're looking for those feelings to just go away, and that's when those distraction strategies come in. But we know that the better quality approach, or the more productive route, will always be to do the work, as we say. And whatever tools or channels or methodologies you choose, whether it's kinesiology or coaching or tapping or journaling or meditation or exercise to some extent, any modality I think that you're drawn to is a more resourceful approach than resisting, dismissing and hoping it will go away.
Yeah, and I guess it's about as well being exposed to that there is a channel.
There's so many channels.
and so many people are unaware.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And I guess if you're watching this is like a little trigger for you to, something is drawing me to this, that is making me aware that there are better ways to cope with what is surfacing from inside than to pushing it down with my work or with another drink or with however we've decided to deal with those things in the past.
And I think I love that point about, if you're drawn to this, if you're watching this, acknowledge that you're here for a reason and listen to that voice that's drawn you to this material. This is part of learning how to trust yourself, right? Now, the answer to why am I here? Sure, it could be to work with Jen, with you, or it could be to work with me, or it could be none of that. It could be to take a little gold nugget that you hear from this conversation, which leads you to a conversation, which leads you to a person, leads you to another person, and it leads you to in starting this personal development journey and working on it. So
absolutely,
you will, but trust that you're here for a reason.
I always say it doesn't matter if you meet someone for half an hour or for 7 years or for a lifetime. All you need to take from them sometimes is that little tiny gold nugget to help you on your journey. Yes,
I agree. It's perfect.
So tell me a couple of other questions before we leave it today. We were talking before about mentors. And obviously we are both mentors. We both have mentoring businesses in a way. How important do you see mentors? And we spoke a little bit before about holding space a little bit differently.
Yes.
But for you personally, number one, do you have a mentor and why do you use them?
Yeah. I've got 2 mentors at the moment, paid mentors. And I often joke that I pay them to slap me around for my unresourceful thinking. I'm human, right? Like everyone, I have fears and foibles and unresourceful strategies, and I want to bring those to the surface and address them every time at every opportunity that I have. And that's what I pay my mentors to do. And also just a confidential, trusted sounding board in business, because quite often as business owners, we don't want to put our vulnerabilities on display for our clients or prospects even to see. That doesn't feel like a safe thing, and in fact, we're only really serving when we're providing certainty to our clients. And so using mentors to work through that stuff that we want to do in the background so that we can show up constructive and serving is why I have mentors.
Yeah, really well said. And I think we touched on this previously where, for me, I know it's definitely the case. The business is it's like a little highlighter of all the things that is wrong with us inside. Not wrong with us, but, all our insecurities and all our internal fears and, that lack of confidence sometimes that we can have. It really draws it to the surface sometimes. Yeah. Whether it's the first time we did a Facebook Live or, the first big client that we got, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm dealing with them. And, it just helps. I think it just help you become a so much better person if you use the personal development alongside building a business.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I wouldn't be nowhere near where I am in business right now without my mentors. And I hope one or both of them might watch this and take that acknowledgement. Certainly in the first couple of years of business, it was a bit tough, but I can say, I've tripled my corporate income to what I was earning as an employee with a day job. And I would not have done that without my mentors. So
beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so Angela, can you tell us here today, and I will just let everyone know that we've recorded this maybe 3 times, but that's okay. These are really, really great tips that Angela has to help us all through these uncertain times, because we don't know what's ahead of us, but we know we still need to keep our business functioning on some level. So what can we do in your eyes to help us through these times?
Well, look, the number one thing right now in the flood of communication and information and messaging that we've got that's overwhelming us is for you guys to decide what is the most important things for you right now. So we're going to link a resource for you called Creating Clarity in Crisis, and that will help you identify what are the 5 most important things right now, and you can take your power back around those 5 things and decide if you're going to show up and live and be in both life and business through this.
Do you think that it's almost linked to our values?
I think it will link directly to your values, because whatever's keeping you awake at night right now, whatever's burning for you, will be the things that are closest to your heart and the things that you do most value. So
beautiful. I love that. Keep going, sorry.
Yep. No, number 2 is to learn to tap into and listen to and trust the voice that is yours. So like I said, there are so many messages and so many opinions if you're brave enough to, get on any of the social media channels about what's good and right for us at the moment. There's one person that knows that, and that's you. And so accessing your voice, listening to it, trusting it, and having the courage to follow what it's asking us to do to stay safe and well. I think if you're not used to tuning into your own voice, now is a very good time to learn and practice that.
It's almost like seeing what you're seeing and disconnecting from it for a moment, go, well, how does this relate to me?
Yes, I love that. I love that. What does it mean for me? What does my internal guidance say about how to navigate this situation? What is the right decision for me right now? Trust that voice, and it will guide you one decision at a time along the right path for you.
And I think I love that what you just said, one decision at a time. It's like, let's not make decisions for the next 2 months, 3 months, even the next 2 days. Right now, what is my decision right now?
Let's not grasp at certainty in a future that is inherently uncertain at the moment. Let's just make the right decision for right now. That would be my advice. And then finally, it's to reach out for connection and support, whether it be through mentors, family, or friends, but also to be generous and giving in the connection and support you offer others. And we've talked about the beautiful experience of when someone holds space for us in a conversation. And so if you're reaching out to family and friends, avoid just reaching out to whinge and whine and complain. Reach out and be generous in holding space for them. They may not even know you're doing it, and it doesn't matter. So
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Yeah, it's so important at this time to stay as connected as we possibly can when we're in a time where we're forced on some level to be disconnected from what we normally, how we normally operate. So I think we're really lucky to have the technology to access anyone around the world at any time of the day, and really to utilize that as much as we possibly can.
yeah, I agree. Well articulated. Yep.
So tell me, Ange, where can we find you? Where can we find your resources?
Yeah. So my website is equenti.com, EQUENTI.com. And you can also find me, Angela Koning, on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.
Beautiful. All three social platforms. I shouldn't say all three because there's so much more now that I don't know, I'm not even a part of. But the three main ones, the three big ones.
Me too.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, and I so much appreciate these conversations. And for me, this is my connection with like-minded people that helps fill my cup up. So I really highly appreciate and honour your time here today.
And thanks for inviting me on. And that little bit of kinesiology work that we did as we began this conversation had me feeling so understood and connected and clear. So thank you so much.
Anytime.